Themelis,
Yep.
yeah, from Knock. Thank
Yep.
you for joining me today at MRI Ascend 2019 here in Anaheim.
Great to be here, first time.
Yeah, how are you enjoying the conference?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, much bigger than I was expecting, and I just think that the atmosphere is fantastic, and I've really enjoyed the sessions I've been able to go to. You guys have a great location, pretty solid spot.
yeah. So let me start with you. You're the co-founder, right, of Knock. What brought you into this industry? Brought you to founding the organization?
Yeah, prior to Knock, I used to work in finance for a big Swiss bank, UBS,
Yep.
and in my role with UBS, I was transferred from Seattle to San Francisco to New York, back to Seattle, then back to New York, and there was a lot of apartment hunting
Sure.
in all that relocation. And my business partner and I, who also worked for UBS and went through a similar experience, we both had kind of an entrepreneurial drive, and so timing worked out about 5 years ago to take a shot. And a lot of the pain points that we experienced as renters going through the customer journey of hunting for a new apartment, and
Yeah.
even how managers would engage with us throughout our time living in apartment buildings. Like it was a lot of those pain points that we felt as consumers that formed the foundation for what ultimately has become our company today.
Very cool. So, and part of what your company does is working with prospects, residents, this whole life cycle that you always hear about in the industry. What have you noticed over the last few years being some of these high level trends affecting that resident life cycle and those engagements and touch points?
Yeah, I think the first is that I think there's becoming an awareness in the industry that the sales cycle for an apartment community is going far beyond just the 2 weeks that from the first time somebody contacts you looking for an apartment and moving them in to an apartment community. They're thinking a lot more about the residents that are already in your property that are going to make up 50% of next year's revenue. And people are starting to think a little bit more holistically about their revenue pipeline, that it consists of prospects and residents, that
Sure.
tomorrow's revenue consists of prospects and residents, and that the systems and decisions that they make for how they engage with their prospect pipeline definitely needs to incorporate residents as well.
Okay, and when you're talking about that, like that conversion from a prospect to resident, like what are those various touch points? Where in that process is it most important for a property manager to be putting that focus?
There's so many different touch points,
Yeah.
and that's really where services like ours come to help out. If you think about a community with, let's just say, a few hundred units, and at 50% turnover, you're going to have to sign 8 to 9 leases per month just to keep your building occupied. So that could be a prospect pipeline of 50 to 100 or 200 prospects that you're engaging with at any given month, on top of maybe another 400 or 500 people that live in the building. So a small team managing communications with well over 500, maybe even close to 1,000 people in any given month, it's utterly overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so we know there's obviously a lot of data that shows being quick to respond to leads has an impact on conversion.
Yeah.
Engaging frequently has an impact on conversion. Engaging with high quality, context rich content is a driver of better conversions. And then of course that goes on through the resident life cycle with various touch points. And so that volume of communication, I think, is there are so many touch points. It's really
Yeah.
the more interesting thing to me is just keeping up with that volume of communication.
Yeah, and that massive pipeline, I think you've used the phrase in the past, like intelligent pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so the way I think about an intelligent pipeline, it all starts with your goals. Like any sales manager, if you're trying to think about, hey, this is my goal, where I want to be at the X date in the future.
Yeah.
I've got to work backwards from there. I'm going to need X amount of renewals, X amount of new leases signed. To get new leases, I'm going to need X amount of appointments. To get X amount of appointments, I need to be engaging with X amount of lead traffic.
Yeah.
So working backwards from your goal. And when I think of an intelligent pipeline, I think of a pipeline or a system that's informing you where your gaps are, so that you can be predictive about closing those loopholes, so that you don't miss your goals.
Sure, sure. So taking a step away from the actual prospect pipeline, at the same time, you also have to keep residents happy, right? And keep people the end of that life cycle and into the renewal process. How do you balance what's almost more important, keeping your residents happy and keeping them renewing, or keeping that pipeline, full of current prospects? How do you make that balance work?
Well, definitely. I mean, for starters, it's going to depend on where the asset is in its life cycle. So in a lease up phase, we don't even have residents renewing necessarily.
Yeah.
So on one end of the spectrum, all your attention is focused on that prospect pipeline.
Yeah.
You might have on the far end of the spectrum in the other direction, a very stabilized community at a high occupancy and an investment strategy that is not looking to maximize rents, but maximize occupancy, where retention rates are much, much higher, because that's a derivative of your investment strategy. So I do think it depends, but to your point about your question really around where do things matter, I think number one, understanding, hey, what is the goals of my product? Like, where should I be focusing? Because that's what my owners and asset managers are telling me our strategy is, and then crafting your sales efforts, your sales activities around those goals. Unfortunately, I think up to today, there's been much more emphasis on kind of the lead to lease conversion, and less emphasis on what it takes to reduce preventable churn from residents. And for most companies, they understand that there is a series of activities or communication and engagement that they could be doing with residents that might lead to higher retention numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a bit of dark matter to them today. Like, they know there's something there, but they can't really identify it or measure it today.
Sure. So tell me about Knock. Tell me what are you guys doing, and how are you infusing yourselves into this process?
Yeah, so our swim lane is really attract, convert, retain. When we think of, we're a revenue partner for clients like MRI clients, and we very much view, like, there's a lot of different initiatives and tools and projects that our clients are undertaking in order to maximize revenue. And but they ultimately come down to it: what are you doing to attract new residents? What are you doing to convert them into to residents? And how are you retaining those residents? And so those are the swim lanes that we use for our company. We're a CRM platform, so customer relationship management platform, and we really are trying to be a revenue partner for our clients to help them look at, what can I be doing in my attract phase to do a better job converting and get better data? What can we be doing in the convert phase to improve that phase, performance of that phase, and have better data for performance management? And same thing for the residents as well for the final conversion.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Demetri, for your time today. I appreciate it. I'll let you get back to the show floor.
All right.
And take care.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.